The smell is what stays with you. They don't tell you that in training. They teach you how to fly, how to navigate, how to drop your payload. But they don't tell you that when you firebomb a city, the smell comes up 5,000 feet, comes right through the aircraft, gets in your clothes, your hair, your lungs. Burning flesh smells sweet. That's the thing nobody wants to admit. Sweet and sick at the same time, like pork roasting and death mixed together. I can still smell it sometimes, even now. 14 years later, and I'll be cooking breakfast, and suddenly I'm back over Tokyo, and I have to leave the kitchen. My name's Robert Chen, Captain, United States Army Air Forces. I flew B-29 superfortresses out of Tinian Island in the Marianas. 23 missions total. The one over Tokyo on March 9th, 1945. That was mission number 17. I grew up in San Francisco. My parents ran a grocery store in Chinatown. They came over from Guangdong province before I was born. I was American through and through, but I still looked Chinese to a lot of people. Had to carry my birth certificate with me after 41, just to prove I wasn't Japanese. Had to prove I belonged. Maybe that's why I enlisted. To prove something. To show I was just as American as anyone else. I scored high on the aptitude tests. They put me in flight school. Told me I was going to fly the most advanced bomber in the world. The B-29 was beautiful. Pressurized cabin, remote-controlled gun turrets, could fly higher and farther than any bomber before it. When I first saw one at the airfield in Kansas, I thought it looked like something from the future. Sleek, powerful, untouchable. They trained us for high-altitude precision bombing. Fly at 30,000 feet above the flak and fighters. Use the Norden bomb site. Hit specific targets, factories, rail yards, military installations, surgical strikes, they called it. Clean, precise. That's not what we did over Tokyo. The briefing came on March 8th. Evening. We knew something big was coming because General LeMay himself was there. Curtis LeMay, the man who'd taken over 21st Bomber Command a few months earlier. He was changing everything. New tactics, new approach, more aggressive. He stood up at the front of the briefing room and dropped it on us like a bomb. We're going in low, he said. 5,000 to 7,000 feet at night. And we're carrying incendiaries. The room went quiet. Low altitude meant we'd be in range of every gun in the city. Night meant no fighter escort. And incendiaries. Incendiaries meant we weren't hitting military targets. We were hitting everything. LeMay didn't sugarcoat it. He showed us the target maps. Tokyo. The whole eastern part of the city. Residential areas, made of wood and paper. The most flammable city on Earth, he called it. 300 B-29s, 2,000 tons of incendiaries, M-69 cluster bombs that would scatter and ignite on impact. The goal wasn't to destroy specific buildings. The goal was to create a firestorm. My co-pilot, Jimmy Walsh from Boston, leaned over and whispered, "Jesus Christ, we're going to burn the whole city." He was right. That was exactly what we were going to do. LeMay explained the reasoning. Months of precision bombing hadn't worked. Japanese industry was scattered throughout residential areas, home workshops, small factories. The only way to destroy their war production was to destroy everything. We need to end this war, he said. We need to make them surrender before we have to invade. This is how we do it. Made sense on paper. The numbers, the logic, the strategic necessity. But sitting there in that briefing room, looking at the maps of Tokyo's wooden neighborhoods, I felt something twist in my stomach. We were going to burn people, not soldiers, not military targets, people, families, kids. Probably kids who looked like I did when I was young, running around my parents' store. But you don't say that. You don't question orders. You're a soldier. You have a job to do. And the job was to fly over Tokyo and drop fire on it. After the briefing, I went back to my barracks. Couldn't sleep. Lay there thinking about those maps, about wooden houses packed together, about what happens when you drop fire on them, about what LeMay said, make them surrender. My crew was good. 7 men I'd flown with for months. Jimmy Walsh, co-pilot, Bobby Martinez, navigator, Tom Chen, no relation, but we joked about it, bombardier, the gunners, the flight engineer. We'd been through it together. 23 missions after Tokyo would make 17. We'd hit military targets before, factories, airfields. We'd seen flak, seen fighters, lost friends to both. But this felt different. This felt like crossing a line we couldn't uncross. Jimmy found me around midnight, sat down on the bunk next to mine. "You thinking about tomorrow?" he asked. "Yeah. It's war," he said. "They started it. We're finishing it." I nodded. But I kept thinking about my parents' store in San Francisco, about our apartment above it, wooden building, paper screens. If someone had firebombed Chinatown when I was a kid. "Get some sleep," Jimmy said. "We got a job to do." We took off around midnight. 300 B-29s, one after another, engines roaring, climbing into the Pacific night. My aircraft was called Dragon's Breath. I'd named her myself, thought it was clever at the time. Now it just felt cruel. The flight to Tokyo took about 6 hours. We flew in waves. I was in the second wave. The first wave would drop their incendiaries to mark the target area. We'd drop ours to feed the fires. As we approached the Japanese coast, I could see it. The glow. The first wave had already hit. Tokyo was burning. From 50 miles away, you could see the orange light against the night sky. Like sunrise, except it was 2 in the morning. We descended to 7,000 feet, lower than we'd ever flown over enemy territory. I could feel it immediately, the turbulence, the heat rising from below. And the smell. God, the smell. Bobby Martinez called out the heading from the navigator's station. Tom Chen prepared the Bombay doors. The gun turrets rotated, scanning for fighters. But there were no fighters. The Japanese had been caught completely off guard. Low-altitude night attack. They weren't ready for it. What they had was flak, anti-aircraft fire. And at 7,000 feet, we were right in the middle of it. Explosions burst around us. Shrapnel pinged off the fuselage. The whole aircraft shook. One burst was so close, I saw the flash through the cockpit window. But we kept flying, straight and level over the target. Tom needed a steady platform for the drop. I looked down through the windscreen. Tokyo was a sea of fire. Miles of it. Block after block, neighborhood after neighborhood, everything burning. The fires were so intense they created their own wind. I could feel it buffeting the aircraft. Updrafts, crosswinds. The heat was incredible. "Bombay doors open," Tom's voice crackled over the intercom. The aircraft lurched slightly as the doors opened. I fought to keep us steady. Below I could see people, tiny figures running through the streets, running from the fire, running from us. Bombs away. The aircraft lifted as 6 tons of incendiaries dropped out of the Bombay. I watched them fall, watched them scatter, watched them ignite, adding to the inferno below. Bombay doors closed. Let's get the hell out of here. I banked left, following the planned egress route. Other B-29s were all around us, hundreds of them, all dropping fire. The entire city was burning now. The firestorm had taken hold. I'd read about firestorms in training, Hamburg, Dresden. When fire gets hot enough and big enough, it creates its own weather system, sucks in oxygen, creates winds strong enough to pull people off their feet and into the flames. That's what was happening below us, a firestorm. We'd created a firestorm. The flight back to Tinian took 6 hours. Nobody talked much on the intercom. We were all thinking about what we'd just done, what we'd just seen. I kept the aircraft on autopilot mostly. Let Jimmy handle some of the flying. I couldn't stop thinking about those tiny figures running through the streets. Couldn't stop smelling that sweet, sick smell. Tom came up from the bombardier's position, sat in the jump seat behind me. He was quiet for a long time. Then, "How many people you think were down there?" I didn't answer. Didn't want to think about it. 1,000,000? More? "Don't know," I said. "Whole families," Tom said. "Kids, babies. We followed orders," Jimmy cut in. "We did our job. That's all." But Tom wouldn't let it go. "My grandmother's house in Sacramento is made of wood. If someone dropped incendiaries on Sacramento..." "It's war," Jimmy said again. Louder this time. "They bombed Pearl Harbor. They're killing our guys in the Pacific. This is how we make them stop." Tom went quiet after that, went back to his station. But I knew what he was thinking. Same thing I was thinking. Same thing all of us were thinking, even Jimmy, even if he wouldn't admit it. We'd just killed more people in one night than most soldiers kill in an entire war. Maybe more than most soldiers in most wars combined. We landed back on Tinian around 8 a.m. The ground crews were cheering. They'd heard the mission was a success. 300 B-29s, minimal losses. Only 14 aircraft went down. That was less than 5%. By strategic bombing standards, that was a stunning success. The debriefing was professional, clinical. They asked about flak density, fighter opposition, bombing accuracy. They asked about equipment malfunctions. They asked about everything except what it felt like to burn a city. After debriefing, we were supposed to eat, rest, get ready for the next mission. But I couldn't eat, couldn't rest. I walked out to the airfield and just stood there, looking at Dragon's breath, my aircraft, my responsibility. Bobby Martinez found me there an hour later. "Radio Tokyo is claiming 100,000 dead," he said quietly. "Maybe more. 100,000. In one night, from one raid." "Could be propaganda," I said, hoping. "Could be," Bobby said. But neither of us believed it. We flew 6 more missions after Tokyo, hit Nagoya, Osaka, Kobe, more fire raids, more cities burning. The B-29s were winning the war. The strategic bombing campaign was working. Japan was being systematically destroyed from the air. We lost Tom Chen on the mission to Osaka. Flak burst came through the nose of the aircraft. Killed him instantly. We brought his body back. They gave him a military funeral. He was 24 years old, from Sacramento. His grandmother's house was made of wood. I wonder if he thought about that when the flak hit. About his grandmother. About the wooden houses in Sacramento. About the wooden houses we'd burned in Tokyo. After Tom died, I requested a transfer. Got denied. The war was in its final stages. They needed experienced crews, needed pilots who could get the job done without hesitation. So I kept flying, kept dropping incendiaries, kept coming back to Tinian and pretending I was okay. The war ended in August. 2 atomic bombs, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Then it was over. Japan surrendered. We'd won. Everyone celebrated. VJ Day. The war was over. No invasion needed. All those American lives saved. The bombs, both kinds, incendiary and atomic, had done their job. I celebrated with everyone else, drank too much, sang songs, acted happy. But inside I kept thinking about Tokyo, about the figures running through the streets, about that smell rising up 5,000 feet. I came home in October 1945. San Francisco. My parents cried when they saw me. Threw a party. All our relatives came. Everyone wanted to hear about the war, about flying B-29s, about the missions. I told them the sanitized version, the version that made sense, the version where we were heroes ending the war, the version that let them sleep at night. I didn't tell them about Tokyo, about the smell, about 100,000 people dying in one night while I flew overhead dropping fire on them. I got a job, tried to move on, tried to build a normal life, got married in 1948, had 2 kids. On paper, everything was fine. The war was over. I'd survived. I'd come home. I should have been grateful, but I wasn't fine. The smell came back at random times. Cooking dinner, walking past a barbecue, sometimes just out of nowhere. I'd smell it and suddenly I'd be back in the cockpit, looking down at Tokyo burning. I started having nightmares. Same dream over and over. I'm flying Dragon's Breath over San Francisco, over Chinatown, over my parents' store, and I'm dropping incendiaries. I'm burning my own home. I'm killing my own family, and I can't stop, can't change course, can't disobey orders. I wake up sweating, shaking. My wife asks if I'm okay. I tell her it's nothing, just a dream. But it's not nothing. It's Tokyo. It's 100,000 people. It's the knowledge that I did that. I dropped those bombs. I created that firestorm. Me and 299 other crews, but still, I did it. People call me a hero. Thank me for my service. Tell me I helped end the war. Saved lives by preventing an invasion. They're probably right. The numbers support it. More people would have died in an invasion, American and Japanese both. But that doesn't change what I did. Doesn't change what I saw. Doesn't erase those figures running through the burning streets. I tried talking to other pilots, other B-29 crews. Some of them felt the same way. Most wouldn't talk about it. Said it was war. Said we did what we had to do. Said we should be proud. Maybe they're right. Maybe I should be proud. Strategic bombing worked. Japan surrendered. The war ended. Mission accomplished. But I can't be proud. Because every time I close my eyes, I see Tokyo burning. Every time I smell something cooking, I'm back at 7,000 feet, watching a city die beneath me. They gave me medals. Air Medal, Distinguished Flying Cross, for meritorious achievement in aerial flight, for doing my duty, for following orders. I keep them in a drawer. Haven't looked at them in years. Can't stand to. It's 1959 now, 14 years since Tokyo. I'm 43 years old. My kids are growing up. My parents are getting older. Life goes on. The world moves forward. But I'm still there. Still in Dragon's Breath. Still at 7,000 feet. Still looking down at those tiny figures running. Still watching. Still unable to stop it. Still unable to change what I did. People ask me what it was like, flying B-29s. They want adventure stories. They want heroism. They want the war to make sense. I tell them it was loud. The engines were loud. That's all I say. I don't tell them about the smell, about the fires, about the hundreds of thousands of people who died under our bombs, about how war isn't clean surgical strikes and military targets, about how war is burning entire cities and calling it strategy. I don't tell them that we were good at it, that we perfected it, that we turned it into a science, that by the end we could burn a city to the ground in one night with minimal losses. I don't tell them that winning didn't feel like winning, that coming home didn't feel like coming home, that surviving didn't feel like surviving. Some of my crew didn't make it. Tom Chen died over Osaka. 2 gunners died in other missions. They're buried in military cemeteries. Heroes. Gave their lives for their country. The rest of us lived, came home, got jobs, had families, moved on. But we didn't really. We're still up there, still flying those missions, still dropping those bombs, still watching those cities burn. The B-29 was the most advanced bomber in the world, a marvel of engineering. We used it to rain fire on cities made of wood and paper. We used it to kill more people in one night than most armies killed in entire campaigns, and it worked. That's the thing nobody wants to talk about. It worked. The fire bombings broke Japan's will to fight, Combined with the atomic bombs, they forced surrender. No invasion. No million American casualties. The strategic bombing campaign was a success. But success has a cost. Not just in Japanese lives, in our lives too. In the lives of the men who flew those missions and came home and tried to pretend they were fine. I flew 23 missions, dropped hundreds of tons of incendiaries, helped burn multiple cities, helped kill hundreds of thousands of people. I did my duty, followed my orders, served my country, and it destroyed something inside me that can never be repaired. The war ended in 1945. But I'm still fighting it, still trying to justify it, still trying to make sense of it, still trying to convince myself that it was necessary, that it was right, that 100,000 dead in Tokyo was worth it to end the war. Some days I believe it. Some days the math makes sense. Some days I can look at those medals and feel something other than shame. Most days I can't. Most days I just smell the smoke, sweet and sick, rising up 5,000 feet, getting in my lungs, in my clothes, in my soul. That's what I brought back from the war. Not just memories, not just nightmares, but the permanent knowledge of what I'm capable of, what we're all capable of when we're given orders and advanced technology and a war to win. They say we were the greatest generation, that we saved the world, that we fought the good war. Maybe we did, maybe that's true. But we also burned cities. We also killed hundreds of thousands of civilians. We also turned the sky into a weapon and rained death on people who had no chance to defend themselves. And we have to live with that. All of us who flew those missions, all of us who dropped those bombs, all of us who came home and tried to forget. But you can't forget. The smoke follows you. The smell stays with you. The faces of those tiny running figures haunt you forever. I survived the war, got my medals, came home to parades and celebration, built a life, had a family. But part of me died over Tokyo on March 9th, 1945. The part that could fly over a burning city and feel nothing, or worse, feel proud. That part died. What's left is this: a man who can't stand the smell of cooking meat, who has nightmares about burning his own home, who keeps his medals in a drawer because looking at them makes him sick. They say time heals all wounds. They're wrong. Some wounds just learn to hide. Some smells never fade. Some missions never end. I'm still flying over Tokyo, still at 7,000 feet, still watching it burn, still unable to change course, still unable to undo what I did, still trying to figure out if following orders makes you a hero or something else entirely, still trying to live with the answer.